Board of Commissioners meeting January 3rd, 2022. First, we have the Pledge of the Allegiance. Commissioner Baxter, would you lead us?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda.
I would like to pull Ordinance 2022-31 as well as the December 16th work session minutes from consent.
What was that again?
I'm so sorry?
I didn't hear all.
Ordinance 2022-31 as well as the December 16th work session minutes.
Okay.
2022-31 and the other one was
The December 16th work session minutes.
Okay.
Mayor, those items would go under new business B.
B under new business.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion we approve the changes to the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'm sorry, did you say that you motion to approve the amended agenda? Okay. I don't know why I'm having now a problem.
I can't hear with these
I know. I second.
All in favor? Motion passed. Next would be school recognition, and they are not here, so I'll just read. First one is the teacher of Zeblin Middle School, Shamika Green. And Shamika Green has been teaching reading interventions classes at Zeblin Gifted and Talented Magnet School for the past 2 years. In teaching reading intervention, she teaches students who struggle with reading and reading comprehension. And often her students aren't excited about having anyone reading any other reading class. However, much of this trepidation melts away once they get to know her, how much they like Mrs. Green. Every day she has a smile on her face, positive attitude. She creates a very welcome environment for her students, and she makes them understand that she cares about them and is here to help them succeed. Her students' success is her number one priority. Her work with students, though, isn't the only reason that she is being recognized. Mrs. Green is always looking for opportunities to go above and beyond. She is a member of the intervention team and the Student Achievement and Support Committee of the School Improvement Team. She also organized and ran the Zeblin Middle School summer school program this past summer. Mrs. Green is a great teacher a great colleague, a great representative of Zeblin Gifted and Talented Middle School. The town of Zeblin recognizes Shamika Green, Zeblin Middle School, for her hard work and dedication to the school and its students, January 23rd, 2022. The next recognition is student Maya Green. Maya Green was selected for recognition for being an overall outstanding student. She works hard in the classroom to maintain excellent grades and is respectful to staff members. Maya is a role model for other students by standing out as a leader. She has been a participant of the Student Ambassadors Program, which provides school tours to prospective students and families. Maya also participates as a member of the Zeblin Gifted Magnet School girls basketball team and enjoys her advanced dramatics elective classes. She was inducted into the National Junior Honor Society last year. Congratulations, Maya. And the town of Zeblin recognizes Maya Green, Zeblin Middle School, for being an overall outstanding student, the role model for students by standing out as a leader, January 3rd, 2022. Okay. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
All right. We'll move to the reports. Consent.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Motion passes. Manager?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is follow-up to what was discussed at your work session regarding the steps and the schedule for filling a board vacancy. Apologize in advance. The packet that you've got in front of you might have some distinctions from what is being shown on the slideshow. I made some last-minute minor adjustments as far as the sequence of the slides and some grammatical changes, but I don't think there'll be enough to throw you off. So as far as revisiting some things, we talked last time, and it's included in your staff report, a reference to state statute, which talks about how boards fill vacancies. Commissioner Miles at the work session correctly brought up the opportunity to have a special election. So that is available to you in state statute, but what trumps that, and we did not talk about last time, is your town charter. So just as a reminder, towns are creations of the state. They are specifically chartered. They're like a municipal corporation. In fact, the state statutes that talk about cities is often referred to as the municipal corporation section. And so the town charter spells out specifically how specific towns do specific things. And in the case of vacancies, they have to take a plurality vote of the board. So while special elections is an option through state statute, it's not an option for you in Zebulon per your town charter. I'll also then talk to you tonight about the steps and the schedules that we'll put before you for your consideration. Again, the discussion for the board is either adoption of what staff has recommended or amending what staff has recommended. So the steps will include an application. You can see in your packet, there'll be we're asking for the applicants to describe their public service as well as their interest in public service. So acts that they've done in public service, that could be volunteer activity, but specifically their interest in the public service that you all do in elected office. We've included on the application an opportunity for them to share their perspective on issues or pressing needs within Zebulon specifically, and to identify what they consider to be the top priorities. And then we've also included in the steps a presentation to you all, much like this venue at a regular meeting where they come to you at this podium, and they have 3 to 5 minutes to make a presentation before you. And then we also included per feedback that we received at last month's work session for them to attend the Government 101. I suspect that there will be applicants who attended last time, so they don't necessarily need to attend the Government 101 session again, but they can if they want. We've included on the screen just a snapshot of the first page of the draft application, and on the right of that screen is the schedule that we've put before you for your consideration, that tonight would be the night that you would adopt, and you would start to advertise that process. We'll actually start to advertise that process tomorrow, as well as making physical handoffs of the applications to different locations that I'll share with you later in the presentation. The applications will be due at 5 p.m., either electronically or in person by the end of the month. At February 7th, they would come to you at your regular meeting to make a presentation. And then at March 7th, it would be your option at, again, another regular meeting to appoint someone. This is really information for the community, but where to find the applications when they are posted. In addition, we'll get the information out through our social media platforms, but the application itself can be found electronically at the town's website, but we'll also make physical copies available here at Town Hall, as well as other Zebulon facilities, specifically the police department, the community center, as well as our partners in Wake County at the Eastern Regional Center and the library. So again, the discussion before the board is if they wish to adopt the recommended process or if they wish to amend the process that's been proposed before them. I stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
I have not necessarily some questions for you, Manager Moore, but more maybe some dialogue for the commissioners. On the first side of the page, it says, I am a registered voter in Wake County, and there's 2 tick boxes. I would like to see that. That is fine, but I would also like the verbiage, can you legally vote in the town of Zebulon?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear with these panels. We got to lean forward.
If you can speak right in the mic, really helps.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be judicious about that because normally I come across as super loud, but you know, any port in a storm. On the first page, down underneath mailing address, there is a statement, and you can tick yes or no. I am a registered voter in Wake County. And I believe that we agreed at the work session to add, can you legally vote in the town of Zebulon? On the second page, number 4, that whole section is redundant because in question 1, it asks to describe in detail your public service experiences. And so adding number 4 with the list of prior public service, I believe is redundant. Not necessarily the what you consider to be the top 3 priorities for the town of Zebulon, but the second section, which is listing the prior public service. I think that that's addressed in number 1. What I would like to see, and this is where I think, you know, we maybe need some dialogue, is a question that could either be number 5 if we choose to keep the first part of the number 4 question. And that would be something along the lines of, what are your skills and qualifications through work life experience that are transferable to service on the Board of Commissioners? Because I think that we've asked for any kind of public service, but we haven't asked for any kind of life experiences and that's certainly valid and valuable as well. Are there any thoughts, guys?
I do like the idea of knowing what jobs they've worked, so I have some idea of their previous work experience as opposed to just public service. I think that's a valid question.
Okay. And then could you just explain once more, Manager Moore, the purpose of having the Government 101 prior to the February 7th presentation? I think that we're asking people to come in on a during a time, you know, with it being the Thursday one, but the Saturday one might be contrary to what people can do and would be outside of what we as commissioners would be required to meet.
Yeah, I don't think there was really much deep thinking on it at all. In fact, it could be later, y'all's call. Actually, it would work better to push it out a week. That's the week of the North Carolina City County Managers Association Conference. So moving to another week would be fine. I think it was just a way to get them informed before they came before you, but there's no hard and fast rule. And
I think that making that a tick box instead of just making it an offer might not be necessary to put it as almost seeming like it's a requirement, because certainly we weren't required to attend a Government 101 prior to our selection. I think that it's valid and should be encouraged, but by putting it on this sheet and putting a tick mark next to it, I think that makes it seem like it's a requirement.
We can maybe just change it to a recommendation, because I think it's a good idea. They understand what they're getting into. Because I admit, I thought I knew what I was getting into, but I too learned things in that Essentials of Government that I did not know.
But Essentials of Government, they'll have to take anyway.
But it's nice if they're exposed to that beforehand.
Right. So can we change that to just verbiage that, would you be open to a conversation from an applicant?
yeah, I think we could just put it more simply next to the check mark. I am interested in a local government 101.
Perfect, perfect. Does anyone else have any changes to this portion, or would you like me to sum up what I said and what we kind of talked about so that it can be put down officially?
I'll take that summary from you. I'll take the summary from you. If you'll sum it up, that'd be great.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I would like to include on page 1 a checkbox for can you legally vote in the town of Zebulon. And then I would say keeping the question number 4, but just removing the section that says prior public service, because that's going to be addressed in question 1. And then adding a question 5 that's phrased along the lines of what are your skills and qualifications through work-life experience that are transferable to service on the Board of Commissioners. And then finally, have that last tick box at the bottom say, I am interested in a local government 101 seminar hosted by the town manager at Town Hall on either Thursday, February 3rd at 6 p.m. or Saturday, February 5th at 10 a.m.
And Commissioner Baxter, what I would propose is we could just leave the dates absent, and if they want to schedule the time, they could schedule it.
Okay, perfect. And then moving to the board vacancy schedule, I would really like to see us appoint someone before the March 7th Board of Commissioners meeting. That way, that person will have a chance to be prepared for the March 7th Board of Commissioners meeting, instead of having their term potentially being pushed out to April for them to be up to speed. Because if we have known since November 2nd that there was going to be a vacancy, and if we wait until March 7th, that's leaving a vacancy for 4 months and 6 days.
Well, question for the board. If they were appointed at the start of our meeting on March 7th, could they not be sworn in and participate that evening?
I believe so. I believe that's how we've worked it in the past, right, Lisa?
Yes, they could be sworn in that evening. They wouldn't have had the opportunity to review an agenda packet to be prepared for the meeting. But yes, we could do that for sure.
Because I would like to see them seated as soon as possible, but by the same token, be up to speed.
Well, and that's why I'm thinking that, we could either piggyback the appointment into the February work session or call a special meeting, and that will give them time to get up to speed for the March Board of Commissioners meeting.
So is there a reason you think that 30 days will make a big difference? Is there a reason that 30 days will make a big
I
difference?
think it's emergent, and I think that any unnecessary delay is kind of contrary to the spirit of our Town of Zebulon charter. And I believe that when it was created with the understanding that we would work with a 5-member board as much as possible. And so I do believe that we are in an emergent situation.
So you're proposing that we appoint at the work session in February, and then they can have access to all the material and be sworn in and participate on March 7th?
Well, when is the time that we as a whole board will discuss all the applications?
We can discuss that at the work session and then have a special called meeting, if that's how it needs to be handled, for directly after the work session ends. Or if we need to pick a specific time, then we pick a specific time, like 7:30.
I can see moving it, but I still don't think, I'm not sure all of us can really, once we discuss it, be ready to make that decision
Right there.
at that same time.
Well, we
And
will,
you may be able to, maybe the next week.
so do you want to do
I would say give some time there, because I really think before we appoint, I just think we need to have time to just absorb everything that we've gone over.
so perhaps the following week, February 24th? I think a week to digest the information
And that
is,
would give you two weeks, wouldn't it?
it would give us over 2 weeks since
to-
the presentation, and then a
Then-
week from when we
And have
discuss
this
it.
meeting on the 24th to appoint,
Yes.
and then swear them in on the 7th.
That is a Board of Adjustment night, and I don't know if we have anything coming forward that night. That's the regular meeting for night for the Board of Adjustment.
The 24th?
The 24th is, so I would suggest maybe backing it up
Yeah,
a night.
I can do the 23rd. 23rd is great.
Okay.
23rd is the date of your mini retreat.
Yeah.
I thought that we were changing that. Are we not changing that?
the next presentation, I'll propose that you change the January mini retreat to a time in April. But the February 23rd mini retreat has already been adopted.
Oh, I see, okay.
Then that would be on do it the 20, you want to do it 25th, or do you want to?
I can do the 25th, absolutely. Does that work
Or
for
the
you, Larry?
22nd, either
I can do
way,
the
forward
22nd or the
backward?
25th.
So a special called meeting on February 25th?
That sounds great.
That's a Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a Friday.
Okay, I mean, that sounds good to me,
Okay.
as long as we just have a little time.
Do we want to do it at 6 p.m.?
What,
6 p.m.?
why not, yeah.
That way we're not keeping folks halfway into the weekend. Okay, okay, so 6 p.m. on February 25th, all right.
Okay.
We need a motion.
Does anyone else have any thoughts, or should I make a motion?
I think we need to make a motion to amend the form
Right.
and the special called meeting. I think we can do in one motion.
Is that one or two?
I think we can do one motion to
Right.
do the form and the special
Right.
called meeting.
So I move to approve the application as amended, as well as the Board of Vacancies schedule as amended.
That sounds,
Second?
I second it.
Mayor,
All in favor?
Mayor, before you take a vote, let me check in with the clerk. Do they need to identify the topic of that special called meeting in the motion?
Yes, it needs to have the topic, date, and time. It has to be a date and time specific in the motion.
So Commissioner Baxter, could you just?
Okay. So I move to approve the application as amended and the board vacancy schedule as amended with a special called meeting on February 25th at 6 p.m. for the purpose of board appointment.
I second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Board calendar?
Okay. Continuing on with our string of discussions about the 2022 meeting calendar, we've got a revision proposed for your consideration. The January mini retreat, as I just referenced, there were some scheduling conflicts with that. And so one of the things that we wanted to propose for the council to consider is move that strategic mini retreat to April. That will allow for the board to be at fully formed, and they can have a mini retreat, a full-bodied strategic mini retreat in April. And so that's our proposal for the board to consider.
Have the times or the locations been determined for the mini retreats?
February 23rd will be in Apex. It will be focused on economic development, on starting the development of your economic development strategic plan. The March 24th will be a continuation and completion of that conversation on the economic development strategic plan. Our plan is that would be in Zebulon. Probably would be a tour of your industrial park. And the mini retreat that we just referenced in April, that probably will also be in town, but the specific location hasn't been determined yet. And all those, they would be like a 9 to 3 or 9 to 4 event.
I make a motion, we approve the 2022 meeting schedule.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Tonight I'm coming for you to request your acceptance of Pierce's Landing Phase 1A for roadway and storm drainage infrastructure. The development has met the conditions of your special use permit 2019-08. It has met the conditions of our Town of Zeblin street and storm drainage specification, and has also met the City of Raleigh utility standards. Phase 1A of the plat has been recorded on December 16th. Site improvements bond in the amount of $588,586 is on file with the planning department. And staff requests your approval, resolution 2022-09, and stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
That $500,000 bond, that is just in case any improvements need to be made before the 12-month guarantee?
Basically, it's there in case the developer does not make those improvements. If the developer does not make those improvements in a timely manner, we can pull that bond and do them ourselves.
Okay.
It's not preferred method, but it is there for as insurance.
Okay, great. And then the total value of both the streets and the storm drains is $1,015,506?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And that will be added to our assets?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, excuse me.
I feel like you do that twice a year to me, Chris.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I have it.
Questions, discussion?
Just one quick question. With that amount of the bond, would that cover anything potentially that how do we come up with that number, 588?
$588,000 is a estimate of outstanding items that haven't been completed, like the overlay, any sidewalk work hadn't been done. That is an estimate presented to me for review by the engineer of record for the job. I review all the items, make sure they're consistent with the items that we see outstanding. Also review current bid numbers we have to make sure the unit prices they put on there are correct, and then basically we total it up. We add contingency, we add engineering overlay, and then we do 10% on top of that. So we actually are building insurance through the process of adding contingencies and a 10% bond factor.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And everything has a guarantee for 12 months on top of that, all of the work that is done.
Thank you.
That's correct.
I make a motion, we approve Resolution 2022-09.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you, guys. One, just a little point of history, I guess, tonight. With the acceptance of this, we have now 30 miles of street, 30 miles even. Thank
30
you.
miles even.
The planning vehicle upfit.
Yes, Mike and/or I will take any questions on that.
So my question is that when we entered into the contract with Enterprise Fleet Management, we knew that there was an upfit that was going to need to take place, correct? We didn't, we thought that the vehicles were going to be, have the light package that we needed?
When we took possession of the vehicles, we actually had a light bar that was left over from the previous vehicles with the intent of mounting that onto the current truck. Much to our surprise, the newer trucks are all aluminum and non-magnetic. So the light bar that we were going to put on there unfortunately did not work, so that went back to Public Works, and we confirmed with Public Works with their light package to make sure it's consistent, met NCDOT regulations, and provided the best amount of safety for our code enforcement officer. And that's where that quote came from. It's the same company that that other departments within the town utilize for their vehicles as well.
Are we going to be selling the current light bar that doesn't fit the new vehicles then?
Or
It's
that
a
just went back?
Smaller light bar. I believe Chris was able to reutilize that on a different vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And so the minimum housing, that 3350, oh, I guess maybe that is your question. I'm sorry, Michael.
All right.
How are you dealing with that loss in the minimum housing arena?
With our new code enforcement officer, we're able to proactively engage with property owners and residents through other mechanisms other than the code or minimum housing format. Minimum housing is the most expensive of our code enforcement procedures, and our current code enforcement officer has been very effective at working with these property owners to bring the properties up to compliance before it requires us to go in for a minimum housing situation. Thus far, we've had 0 expenditures for minimum housing, and we're at 50% way through the year. The amount that's being deducted is less than 50% of the amount budgeted.
Awesome, thank you. If no one else has any questions?
I have one quick question.
Yeah.
When we're done with the leasing of a truck, do we take that light bar back off and put it on another vehicle, or is it kind of like?
That's what he just said.
I'm sorry, I missed it. I may have missed it. I apologize.
Or you're talking about
No,
for
I'm
the
talking about,
enterprise?
you're talking about the current one. I'm saying the new one that we placed, when that lease is up on that vehicle, what do we do with those light systems then?
That I don't know. I believe Chris Ferrer, Public Works Director, might have a little bit more insight on that process and procedure.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Miles. There are parts that are salvageable on the light bar. We have what's called an Akari adapter that fits on the back of that make and model of truck, but the light bar, which is the expensive piece, it's about $1,500 of this proposal, can be salvaged off and on. The Akari is especially adapted for the actual body of the truck, so that probably cannot be reused. Any other strobes that we pull off, the bumper or the front grille and stuff can be reused. So those items can be reused on other trucks and currently are in our fleet.
Is this a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease?
Yeah, I think it's 5.
5, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's a 5-year lease, but what they're gonna do is evaluate it after each year, and they might come up and say, hey, the resale rate on this vehicle is really high right now. We suggest you sell it and roll it back into the next one. But yes, it is a 5-year lease.
Okay. So there's potential that light bar might not last us 5 years if we're, okay,
It's
okay.
possible, yeah.
One quick question for me as well. Being the kind of like new process, is there some way that we see the estimates that we get, or that's just kind of like, do the commissioners ever see the estimates, like for the work? I mean, that number, like $3,500, basically, just, do we ever see the estimates is what I'm asking as commissioners?
Like the estimate for this?
Correct.
Typically, no. No.
It's in the budget though, right? Yeah, there's a budget line item for it.
Yeah, I mean, typically something like that would roll into the vehicle purchase, or vehicle maintenance. It's a smaller purchase. Let's say a light bar on a police car breaks and we have to replace it. Well, that would just come out of vehicle maintenance because it's such a relatively minimal cost, and that wouldn't come before the board necessarily.
And did we get competitive bids, or are we going back to the same vendor?
I think what are they called? They're typically the best and the lowest bid around. They're in Anger, I believe, and that's typically who does most of our vehicles. Police, they do the best work, best prices.
Well, I did a couple of estimates myself on that, and I found a few that was a little bit more. I mean, they come on site, do the work right on site, different things like that. So I did find a few that were less than what you had here. And the quality of work, from what I've seen and kind of did my research on, they were just as good, to my understanding. Just that.
Any other discussion?
I move to approve ordinance 2022-31, the planning vehicle upfit.
Second.
We have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. And the other ones was the call meeting.
Yeah, the minutes for the work session. I would just like the minutes to reflect that the meeting began at 5:58. I would like the minutes to reflect that the meeting began at 5:58 p.m.
Any discussion? Do we have a second for the motion?
I didn't actually make a motion, but I'll move to approve the December 16th work session minutes as amended.
Do we need a motion? She just made one. Do we need a second? No second?
Interesting. Okay.
Mayor, can you state that the motion dies for lack of a second,
Motion
please?
dies for lack of second. Board comments? Commissioner Louts?
I'll start off with a big Happy New Year to the citizens of Zebulon and remind you that we're starting year 3 of COVID-19, unfortunately, and encourage you to mask up, get vaccinated, and remind you there is free testing in town at both the Eastern Regional Center and 5 County Stadium, because we're not out of the woods on this yet, and the more we cooperate, the better. I yield to Commissioner Mills, or Miles, excuse me.
Thank you. Pretty much second what he said. I hope everybody had a happy and safe holiday season. Once again, I'll remind everybody also, as Larry just said, Commissioner Louts just said, 5 County Stadium is a testing site now. And also there's a link on my Facebook page. And then also I remind everybody about the public hearing coming up on next Monday at the 10th at 6:30 at East Wake Academy in reference to the history preservation of Zebulon. And also about next Tuesday, there's a ribbon cutting at Beaver Dam Creek Greenway. I yield to
I would just like to say, I hope everyone has had a good holiday and a Happy New Year, and look forward to working hard for the town of Zebulon.
I would like to send a huge birthday shout out to Miss Rebecca Hinton, who lives on South Arundel Avenue, as she celebrates her 98th birthday today. She has been an asset to this community for her entire life, and through many, many years of history and interaction with the public, she has made our town all the better. So happy birthday, Miss Rebecca Hinton. And that's all I have.
Manager?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. You may recall several months ago, the nonprofit group Preservation Zebulon submitted an application to have a National Register Historic District created in Zebulon. The Board of Commissioners, the Wake County Historic Preservation Commission recommended against that. The State Historic Preservation Organization submitted that application forward on to the National Park Service with their approval. The Board of Commissioners subsequently petitioned the National Park Service, specifically the keeper of the National Register, to recommend it against the application based on substantive and operational protocol issues. The keeper of the national park, or the keeper of the National Register, has agreed and sent that application back. Preservation Zeblin has now resubmitted. And with that, the clock for public input is ticking. And so a public hearing has been scheduled for next Monday, January 10th at 6:30 in East Wake Academy. The school's been very gracious to work with, and we're looking to get enough spacing in there so we can have social distancing as well as have an effective public hearing. So I just wanted to make the board and the community at large available and aware of the public hearing again, Monday, January 10th at East Wake Academy at 6:30 regarding the Zebulon National Register Historic District. And that concludes the manager's report.
Could you explain, Manager Moore, why it would be important for the citizens to attend since Preservation Zebulon has already resubmitted?
Yeah, I think there's several reasons. I think the very first reason a citizen would want to attend is just to find out what the National Register Historic District is, where the boundaries are, why the boundaries were created where they were. I believe there's some interest out there in historic tax credits, but I don't think there's a lot of information on what the practice and the protocol is to get historic tax districts. So I think someone who came to that meeting could walk away informed as well on what it takes to get historic tax credits.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And also some clarity between the state and what the county recognizes stipulations as far as the historic preservation is concerned.
Correct.
So, thank you. There's nothing else to call our attention. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Adjourn.